Here's something most people never think about. The foods you eat every single day don't just affect your waistline or your blood pressure. They can actually change the way your brain works. Memory lapses, mental fog, slower thinking, these aren't always just signs of aging. Many times, they're fueled by what's on your plate. If you're over 60, your brain is more sensitive than ever to food choices. Some of the everyday favorites, things like packaged snacks, sugary drinks, or even those quick deli meats, can quietly inflame your brain, reduce blood flow, and speed up memory decline without you even realizing it. In today's video, we're going to break down the 5 worst foods for brain health that seniors should avoid. We'll look at how each one damages your brain, what it does inside your body, and most importantly, what healthier swaps you can make to protect your memory, focus, and independence for the years ahead. So if you're ready to protect your sharpness and keep your brain strong, let's dive right in. Processed meats and nitrates. Let's start with one of the biggest brain offenders hiding in plain sight: processed meats. Think hot dogs, bacon, ham, sausages, pepperoni, salami. The very foods many of us grew up loving at weekend barbecues or on quick sandwiches. On the surface, they feel harmless, even comforting. But inside your brain, they're working against you. Here's why. Processed meats are loaded with nitrates and nitrites, chemicals used to preserve flavor and extend shelf life. When these compounds enter your body, they don't just sit quietly. They can actually damage blood vessels, trigger inflammation, and disrupt the way oxygen flows to your brain. Over time, this means less nourishment reaching your brain cells, and that's like asking your memory to run a marathon with no fuel. Researchers have found strong links between regular consumption of processed meats and an increased risk of cognitive decline, even dementia. One study published in Nutrition and Health found that seniors who ate processed meats regularly had poorer scores on memory and learning tests compared to those who limited them. It's not just about the nitrates. The high saturated fat and sodium content in these foods further raise blood pressure, straining delicate brain vessels even more. Think about it like this. Imagine your brain as a busy city that relies on clean, smooth highways for oxygen and nutrients to arrive on time. Now, every time you eat processed meats, it's like throwing debris and traffic jams onto those highways. Eventually, the city slows down, lights start flickering, and entire neighborhoods shut down. That's exactly what happens when your brain doesn't get the steady blood flow it needs. The tricky part? Processed meats are everywhere. From breakfast plates to sandwiches to party platters, they sneak into our diets without us even noticing. But the good news is, you don't have to cut out flavor to protect your brain. Instead of reaching for bacon or deli ham, try lean cuts of turkey, grilled chicken, or even plant-based proteins like lentils and beans. You'll still get the satisfaction of protein without the brain-draining chemicals. So the next time you're tempted by that hot dog or cold-cut sandwich, remember, it's not just your waistline that pays the price, it's your memory, your clarity, and ultimately your independence. And protecting those is worth far more than a 5-minute snack. Sugary drinks and sodas. Now, let's talk about one of the sneakiest brain saboteurs out there: sugary drinks. Sodas, sweetened teas, fruit punches, those fancy coffee beverages with more sugar than caffeine, they may feel like harmless treats, but inside your brain, they're doing far more damage than you'd expect. Here's the truth. Every time you sip on a soda or a sugar-loaded drink, your blood sugar spikes. That sudden rush feels energizing for a moment, like flipping on a bright light switch. But what goes up must come down, and that crash doesn't just leave you tired. It leaves your brain cells stressed. Over time, these constant spikes and crashes damage the neurons that control memory, learning, and focus. And there's more. High sugar intake forces your body to pump out more insulin, the hormone that helps shuttle sugar out of your bloodstream. But with years of overexposure, your cells can stop responding properly, a condition known as insulin resistance. What does that have to do with your brain? Everything. Scientists now call Alzheimer's disease type 3 diabetes because of how strongly insulin resistance affects brain function. Studies have shown that people who regularly consume sugary drinks have a significantly higher risk of developing dementia later in life. Picture this. Imagine your brain as a finely tuned orchestra. Every instrument has to stay in rhythm for you to think clearly, recall names, or make decisions. Now imagine someone in the back banging on a drum completely offbeat every time you drink soda. Over time, the whole orchestra falls out of sync, and that's exactly what excess sugar does to your brain's delicate chemistry. The irony is, many people, especially seniors, turn to sugary drinks as a quick pick-me-up in the afternoon, hoping for a burst of energy. But that short-lived high is followed by mental fog, sluggishness, and even irritability. You end up feeling worse, not better. And when this cycle repeats day after day, year after year, it doesn't just sap your energy, it chips away at your long-term memory and focus. The good news? You don't need sugar bombs to stay refreshed. Swap sodas for sparkling water with lemon, unsweetened herbal teas, or even water infused with fruit slices. These options hydrate your brain, which is 75% water, by the way, without the dangerous roller coaster of sugar highs and crashes. So the next time you reach for that colorful can of soda, remember, it's not just quenching your thirst. It could be quietly dimming the lights in your brain. All right, let's move on to another brain enemy that often hides in plain sight: trans fats. You'll find them lurking in packaged snacks, margarine, pastries, fried fast foods, and even in some microwave popcorn bags. They might make your food crunchy, flaky, or last longer on the shelf, but when it comes to your brain, they're nothing short of poison. So what exactly are trans fats? They're artificially created fats designed to extend the shelf life of foods, but here's the problem. Unlike natural fats, which your brain actually needs to function, trans fats disrupt the very structure of your brain cells. Think of your brain cells as tiny houses built with flexible walls made of healthy fats. Now imagine replacing those flexible walls with brittle bricks that don't quite fit. Over time, communication between brain cells breaks down, and that shows up as slower thinking, weaker memory, and more frequent senior moments. Research backs this up. A large study published in Neurology found that people with higher levels of trans fats in their blood had a significantly greater risk of developing dementia. That means the very snacks many people grab for comfort, donuts, packaged cookies, or fried fast food, may be laying the groundwork for memory decline years down the road. Here's a picture for you. Imagine your brain as a superhighway with signals zipping back and forth like cars. Healthy fats keep the road smooth and traffic flowing. Trans fats, on the other hand, are like potholes and broken pavement. They slow everything down, cause traffic jams, and eventually entire routes shut down. That's how trans fats interfere with brain signaling. And it's not just long-term damage. In the short term, too many trans fats can lead to mental sluggishness. Have you ever noticed that after a heavy fast food meal or a bag of greasy chips, you don't feel sharp? That's not just coincidence. It's your brain struggling to function on poor quality fuel. The tricky part is that food labels can be misleading. In many countries, manufacturers are allowed to label their products as having 0 grams of trans fat if the amount per serving is under a certain threshold. But those little amounts add up fast if you snack on these foods regularly. The solution? Swap packaged pastries for fresh fruit, replace margarine with olive oil or avocado spread, and choose air-popped popcorn instead of the microwave butter-laden kind. These swaps nourish your brain instead of clogging it. At the end of the day, every snack you choose is either sharpening your memory or dulling it, and with trans fats, the cost to your brain is simply too high. Refined carbs, white bread, pasta, pastries. Now, let's talk about something that often feels harmless, even comforting: refined carbs. White bread, regular pasta, pastries, bagels, crackers. These are foods many of us grew up with, and for decades they've been staples at family tables. But here's the surprising truth. While they might fill your stomach, they're slowly starving your brain. Here's why. Refined carbohydrates are stripped of fiber and nutrients during processing, which means your body digests them incredibly fast. What do they turn into? Sugar. Plain and simple. And we already know what too much sugar does to the brain. It spikes blood sugar, causes crashes, stresses your neurons, and over time increases the risk of cognitive decline. Think about it like this. When you eat a slice of white bread or a sugary pastry, your blood sugar shoots up like a rocket. You may feel energized for a short while, but soon after, it comes crashing down. And with that crash comes brain fog, irritability, and a sudden lack of focus. Now imagine doing this every day for years. Your brain becomes a roller coaster of highs and lows, and those constant ups and downs wear out your neurons, the very cells that protect memory and learning. Scientific research backs this up. A study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that people with diets high in refined carbs had nearly double the risk of developing memory problems compared to those who ate more whole grains and fiber-rich foods. Another study even linked high refined carb intake to shrinkage in the hippocampus, the part of your brain responsible for forming new memories. That means the very foods you think are giving you comfort may actually be shrinking the part of your brain that keeps your mind sharp. Picture this. Your brain thrives on a steady stream of energy, like a lamp that glows best when connected to a smooth flow of electricity. Refined carbs, however, are like plugging that lamp into a faulty socket that keeps surging and cutting out. The light flickers, dims, and eventually burns out. That's what happens to your mental clarity when refined carbs dominate your diet. But here's the hopeful part. Swapping them out is simple. Choose whole grain breads, brown rice, quinoa, oats, or whole wheat pasta. These foods release energy slowly, keeping your brain fueled steadily throughout the day without the sugar roller coaster. You'll notice not only sharper focus, but more stable moods as well. So next time you're at the bakery or reaching for that soft slice of white bread, remember, it may look harmless, but it could be quietly dimming your brain power. And at this stage of life, your brain deserves better fuel. Excess salt and packaged soups, canned foods. Finally, let's talk about something almost everyone has in their kitchen, salt. Now, don't get me wrong, your body needs some sodium to function. It helps your nerves send signals, your muscles contract, and your fluids stay balanced. But here's the catch. Too much salt, especially from packaged soups, canned foods, frozen dinners, and salty snacks, can quietly erode your brain health. How? It starts with your blood pressure. Excess sodium causes your body to retain water, which increases the volume of blood flowing through your arteries. That higher pressure puts extra strain on the delicate blood vessels that supply your brain. Over years, this can reduce blood flow, damage the vessels, and limit the oxygen and nutrients your brain cells desperately need to stay sharp. And the effects go beyond the heart and arteries. Studies have shown that high-salt diets are linked to cognitive decline and even increased risk of dementia. In fact, research from the Journal of Nature Neuroscience revealed that too much dietary salt doesn't just affect blood pressure, it also directly alters blood flow to the brain, impairing memory and learning. Think of your brain as a lush garden that depends on a steady flow of clean water to thrive. Now imagine gradually tightening the hose until only a trickle gets through. The plants wilt, the soil dries, and growth stalls. That's exactly what happens when excess salt restricts the steady nourishment your brain requires. The tricky part is, salt hides in foods we don't even suspect. A single can of soup, a frozen pizza, or a packaged noodle cup can contain almost an entire day's worth of sodium. And because the taste buds adapt, the more salty food we eat, the more our palate craves, creating a cycle that's hard to break. But here's the good news. Your taste buds can reset. If you gradually reduce your salt intake, within a few weeks your tongue becomes more sensitive to natural flavors again. Suddenly, fresh vegetables, herbs, and spices taste richer, and you realize you don't need nearly as much salt as you once thought. Instead of relying on canned or packaged meals, try cooking simple whole foods at home. Fresh soups made with herbs, roasted vegetables seasoned with garlic and lemon, or even a sprinkle of potassium-rich spices like turmeric or paprika. These swaps don't just protect your brain, they protect your heart, kidneys, and overall health too. So next time you reach for that instant noodle pack or canned soup for convenience, pause and think, is saving 5 minutes really worth trading in your memory, your clarity, and your independence? Your brain deserves better. So when you step back and look at it, These foods, processed meats, sugary drinks, trans fat-loaded snacks, refined carbs, and salty packaged meals, aren't just guilty pleasures, they're silent brain thieves. Over time, they chip away at memory, slow down your thinking, and make it harder to stay independent and sharp as you age. But here's the hopeful part. Every meal is a new chance to fuel your brain with better choices. By swapping out just a few of these harmful foods for nourishing alternatives, you're not just protecting your body, you're investing in your clarity, your energy, and your future self. Because let's be real, your brain is the most valuable thing you'll ever own, and it deserves to be protected just as carefully as your heart or your bones. The foods you eat today can either light up your memory tomorrow or dim it. The choice is yours. If you found this video helpful and you care about keeping your brain sharp and healthy after 60, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join our community here at your channel. Every week, we share science-backed tips to help you stay strong, independent, and full of life well into your golden years. Stay informed, stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next one.